What's up, guys? It's time for another episode of Dice Squad, the only show that pirates cannot get enough of. I am General Dice.
And I am...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm Marshal Dice.
And I'm General Dice. That's what threw me off. I'm Todd Evangelista, General Dice. You are?
I'm Adam Campbell, Marshal Dice, and this is Dice Squad for episode 5. Survive this podcast.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully. All right, now here's the plan. I have a plan all planned out here. All right. If we bypass the sharks, the whales, the sea monsters, the octopuses, and we hitch a ride on the dolphin, we'll be okay.
Yes, but I think we should have some ships that only have one person in them that we feed to the sea monsters to keep them busy as we go through. The key is when the whales knock us into the water to avoid the sharks.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
I
think most of us will survive.
What are we really talking about here? We're talking about Survive, Escape from Atlantis. That's the game we're going to be talking about today.
And this is supposed to be your favorite game. That's what you said. This is your favorite game.
Well, this is one of my favorite games because it's the game of deception, lies, and sea monsters. So can't get enough of that. So a little known fact about this game, it was originally published in 1982 by Parker Brothers.
Yes, and I actually own the 30th anniversary edition. I never saw the 1982 version ever, and I was gaming in 82. I wasn't doing a lot of board gaming, but I have seen some board games that people have forgotten about. And I never even heard of this one, never saw it, but it came out, they re-released it.
Well, actually,
Everybody went crazy for it.
Stronghold Games got a hold of this back in 2010, and in 2012 they released the new version of the game. And along with that, they had a few new extra surprises. They added a 5th and 6th player expansion. They also incorporated dolphins and sea monsters in the game.
Well, no, this is the
giant squid
expansion, and I think. Not in 82, but shortly after this was released, those expansions were available. But in 1982, to have expansions for a game was not really that common. You had to really know what you were doing. You had to be in on it to get that and to know what was going on. But yes, they added these. They are what was originally released, and they do add a lot to the game.
So let's talk about, well, not only is this game a great game to play, but with the release of it by Stronghold Games, it won plenty of awards. Back in 2012, it won the BoardGame.ru in Russia for Best Family Game, and it also won in 2012 the Juego del Año finalist.
Yeah, and also I believe it was nominated for a lot of best reprint awards as well. So yes, they did a very nice job with it from Stronghold Games, and even I think the first time they released the 5 to 6 player expansion, you had to put stickers on the pawns, and people didn't like that, so they re-released them with the stickers are now on those pawns.
So General, how do you play this game?
All right. Well, let's go through it. I want to show you I have some pieces of the island here. You build your island at random, and you put them around. There's I don't know if you can see it. Let's show the map a little bit here.
Alrighty.
And you can see there is a black line, and the hexes inside the black line are what indicates that is the island. And you put these at random all the way around this area, and then you put sea monsters where there are indications of a sea monster. So there are 5 sea monsters on the board. You would place those in the specified locations. Then, taking turns, each person puts one of their pawns on the island. It's key to look at the bottom of the pawn where there's a number as to how valuable that pawn is. Because the theme or the conceit of the game is that you've sent your men onto the island and they've all got treasure. a person with 6 treasure is worth more than a person with 1 treasure. And you need those people with the higher amounts of treasure to survive the island sinking, because that's what it's doing, it's sinking. So on your turn, you place your people all over the island. And in the regular game, there's only going to be 1 person on each hex, and then we're going to put out boats all around the island. The first player's turn, they take one of their guys and they move him 1 space. Or they take one of their guys and move him 3 spaces. Or they put 3 people in a boat. Or they put him in a boat and move him 2 spaces. However you add it up, it has to add up to 3 moves. Once the 3 moves are done, then you sink a tile. And the tiles are not the same height. The beach tiles are much lower than the jungle tiles, which are lower than the mountain tiles. So, logically, what is going to flood and disappear first are the beach tiles because they're lower. So you take one, you turn it over and look at it, and there's about 8 things that can happen on the back of this beach tile. In this case, it shows me something that I would save for later. Or it could say, here is a shark. And then you would put a shark there, or a whale there, or a boat there, or a whirlpool, and it kills everything in its path around it. But once you take that tile and put whoever's on it goes in the water, and then you're allowed to roll the monster die. On the monster die is a shark, a sea monster, or a whale. On the side of the board, it tells you how far each of these creatures can move. So if I were to roll a whale, I would be allowed to roll a whale 3 spaces. If I were to roll a shark, I would move the shark 2 spaces. And if I were to roll the sea monster, only 1 space. But when I do make these moves, certain things happen. If the whale has a boat with people in it, he eats the boat and drops the person from the boat into the drink. If there is a person in a boat and a shark comes by, it does nothing because the person is safe in the boat. If the person is swimming in the water and a shark comes by, the shark eats the person.
Just like Jaws.
Just like Jaws. However, the sea monster, although he can only move 1 space, will eat both the boat and the person. And that can hurt.
In that order?
Yes, and if there are 3 people in that boat, he will eat all 3 people. Same thing with the shark. If a boat with 3 people gets dumped in the water and all 3 of those people happen to be in the same hex and the shark comes along, he eats all 3 people. So that's why this game can be very brutal. And you may not want it to play it as a couples game. But if you can get your people from the sinking island to one of the islands in the 4 corners, any island, those people are safe, and at the end of the game you add up how many points of treasure at the on their foot that they saved, and whoever has the highest number of treasure points is the winner.
I got more than you.
Well, obviously. I only saved these 1 guys. That's why you cannot, I should mention that you cannot look back at what you put down on that island. So after you put them down, you better remember where the high ones are and where the low ones are. And here's a little strategic hint. As things go on in this game, it gets more chaotic and harder to save your people. So a lot of times you're just looking at 3 people in the water and saying, too bad, you guys are dead. I cannot save you. And at the end, you pull the mountain tiles. One of the mountain tiles is going to have a volcano. That signifies the end of the game, and everybody who is in the water is on fire or drowning and dies. So there's a lot of
Now, how can you
violence.
how can you be on fire and drowning at the same time?
Well, you're one or the other. You're one or the other. There's lava everywhere, and there's whirlpools.
Why would you want to be on this island?
Because there's treasure on the island. We did not go on the island. We weren't dumb. We sent our men on the island so they could get the treasure and bring it back to us.
So in a sense, they're kind of like the red shirts in Star Trek.
Yes, except some of these guys will live, whereas the red shirts won't.
Until next episode.
Still be a new guy, sorry. But that is how you play the game. Now, when did you first encounter the game?
Well, I think, General, you first introduced me to this game. I remember one night we were playing board games, and you said, "Hey, I got this new game called Survive," and I'm like, "Well, let's break it out," because we had, I think, about 4 or 5 people, and it was a blast. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we had. I don't think I played 5 or 6 people till later. So I think we had 4 players. The original, we should mention that too, that the original game is for 2 to 4 players, and there's an expansion for 5 to 6 players, which I would recommend, because the more people on that island as it's sinking, the more death. And the more death, the better the game.
The more red shirts, the better.
Yes, in fact, it adds an orange and a white bunch of pawns, and that means almost red shirts. Light orange, basically, put together. But they will be out there and dying because there will be more than one guy on each hex. And so that means more fodder for the sharks.
So
Now,
when was your first experience with this game?
Let's see. I first heard about it on a review from Tom Vassell, and I liked the idea of it, but I didn't know what it was going to be or anything about it, and I liked the idea of it, but I wanted to get some feedback, and everybody was very positive about how good this game was, so I found a copy of it, purchased it. It was not in 2010. It must have been in 2012. I learned the rules. The rules are very simple. I started playing with people, and I'll tell you, there are some people who should not play this game, because if you are going to be angry when you get eaten, when your people are eaten, if you get angry, this game may not be for you. You want to be able to say, "Oh dear, I lost my 3 guys," and continue to play. You don't want to say, "How could you eat me?" Because that is part of the game. You do have to eat. The other players are counting on you to eat the other people. And in fact, I think that was, I played it at a game night. I took it out to game night and I said, "I never played this before, let's try it." And we were sure that the key to playing the game was have one of each color in the boat. And it was a 4-player game. So we had green, blue, and yellow in the boat. So anybody could drive the boat. And we drove the boat, and the person who was playing blue parked it next to a sea monster. The only person not in that boat was Red. Red rolled the sea monster, ate us all. Yes, we learned, never park next to a sea monster. No matter how much like a good idea might sound, you will die.
Gentle note for you listeners out there: if you ever see a sea monster, don't park near it.
No, do not. But I thought, and then I've had a good time with it every time. It's some of the people's reactions is hilarious. Or you try and take that chance. Like, what's the worst thing? I'm 2 away from a sea monster. It's not. 2 people are not going to roll sea monster, and they're not going to eat me. They'll eat somebody. No, you will get eaten, and you just you bite your fingernails as you're waiting to be eaten, and that's the key to this game. There's a lot of suspense. There's kind of a strategy, almost chess-like, as to where you put your people, because you can move. If you roll the whale can set it up for the shark to eat the people. So if you roll the whale and you have people in boats, you want that whale as far away from you as possible. But the whale moving 3 can really get around that board. So you have to be careful when you move him away from you that you're not actually just having him go a different route and still tip your boat over. But I like the game. I've always enjoyed it since I started playing it. I don't think, as far as, a lot of times you'll have games that are good, but occasionally you'll have a clinker game. I don't think I've ever had a clinker game on this one.
So I think for our listeners out there, any strategies for this type of game? What are some tips for our listeners?
Yes, excellent question. When you look at the island, there will be a shape that you're looking for in particular, where 3 hexes surround another hex. You want to put your high point characters around that hex and put the boat right where they can get on the boat right away, and hopefully move them quickly to the island and without getting eaten by the sea monster.
Or capsized by the whale.
Well, you may have to move it. It's like, oh, I'm only 3 away from the space. You're only 3 away from the island, but you're sitting next to a sea monster and all your guys are in your boat. So you want to move 2 away from the sea monster, then move 1 to the island and rescue 2. And remember where you have a 6, a 5, and a 4. Remember which in that boat are the 6 and the 5. If you have to sacrifice 1, sacrifice the 4. The other way to play the game is you don't have to care about how much treasure they have. You just can get the most people off the island. And that seems like a good idea, but I do like the memory aspect of the game.
One tip I think I'd like to bring up is the fact that with these boats, you can get 3 people on a boat at a time. So if you got a friend here, well, let's say like Todd's got 1 person here and I got 2, I can make a deal with him saying, all right, I'll let you get on my boat, and then it'll be 1 and then these 2. And then then you work together to try to make sure you get all of them on the island.
And then what happens is the person who has the most people in the boat gets to drive the boat. So you're stuck there waiting until that other person's turn. Then they move over and they get 2 of their people off, and you're sitting in the boat next to a sea monster. And if they should happen to roll a sea monster, well, it's just part of the game. I'm just going to have to eat you.
Well, all's fair on the high seas.
Yes, and that's when you learn there are no deals to be made. Also, the other thing that you can do is, like, if somebody's going by you and you happen to be in the water swimming, if you can jump in their boat because they have an empty space, that's a great tactic. Unfortunately, you're still at their mercy, but at least you can maybe get a couple of spaces ahead. Because once you're in the drink, you're able to move only 1 hex.
Which is in the water.
Yeah, because you're in the water, you're getting tired from swimming, only be able to move 1 hex. And so it's very important not to bunch up where sharks can get you, and to judiciously move your guys swimming through the water.
Now, don't these tiles also create things like sometimes you can be on a tile and all of a sudden you'll pull it and a raft will appear? Or
there are 2 great tiles. One is a favorable wind blows your boat 3 spaces. Well, if you can get that boat to move 3 spaces, then you have a turn where you can move 3 spaces. You're guaranteed to rescue the people on that boat. And the other one is the swimming dolphin. The dolphin will take you to the island, and it'll move you 3 spaces, and then you get another 3. If your swimmer is not too tired, he can usually be saved, or at least in a good position to be saved. There's also 2 other tiles. One is shark repellent and the other is whale repellent. And when you move that whale over to a person to knock their boat over, and they have a couple of hexes in their hand, you don't want to attack them because they're just going to pull out their whale repellent and kill the whale, or the shark repellent and kill the shark.
Just like Batman.
And that's when you break out the quotes from Jaws or what have you.
Smile, you son of a bitch.
Hey, it's family friendly. And so, but I've really enjoyed this game over time. I do win quite a bit. But
I think I've won a few times there,
yeah,
General.
You have won a few times, but I have won more than I have lost, and I think that's why I do like it. But you can I had a tie game.
How does that happen?
A tie game is the points that I saved my guys versus the points that the other guy saved his guys. We tied. And the tiebreaker is whoever saves the most. I saved all big numbers. He saved all little numbers, so he ended up winning the game. So it was a very tight game, though.
So any expansions besides the 5 to 6 player one, would you use like the octopus or the dolphins?
They get really fiddly, and I like to play this game as a gateway game. I like to get a new person who's maybe never played board games before and show them this game, and they have a lot of fun with it. When you start saying, okay, remember now when you roll the dolphin, this dolphin is going to protect you from sharks that he's on your space, but if he moves off your space, and if the octopus comes, he can drag you from the tile. If the octopus goes in with the whale, then the whale dies. If the whale goes in with the octopus dies. Yeah, their eyes glaze over. And
so it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
I wouldn't say it's that easy to comprehend. No, it's fairly simple. They give you different dice to roll, but I think one of the beauties of the game is that it's simple. 5 minutes of explanation of how to play the game, and we're playing the game. And setup seems like, oh, it's going to take so long. No, 2-3 minutes, you're done. And I don't know, what would you rate this game as? Well, if you get 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
Well, I would, because this was a game that you showed me a little bit later from the other games that I've played. I'd give it 8 out of 10.
8. Would you say
it's not as complex as most other games, but it's simple enough that anyone can really play it?
Would you say it's your favorite game?
It's up there with like Red Dragon and Bonanza. Mm-hmm. I'd say number 4, my top 10 favorite. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Well, it's definitely in my top 10, I think. I can sometimes see it getting a little samey after play after play after play, but so often, people enjoy it so much. It does stay fresh. So I'm going to give it an 8 also. I'd say it's probably around number 10 in my top 10, but it goes up and down. It goes up and down. But I'd say it's a solid 8, and it's a solid go-to game. When people say, well, I don't know, I don't want to play anything heavy, what do you want to play? This is a game that you can break out, bam, and it's not going to take forever. Okay, Ticket to Ride, it's a wonderful game. It's not too heavy. Kids can play it, adults can play it, wonderful gateway game. But it wouldn't be my go-to game because it can take a while to play. I like to do something and move on. Let's play this game, then we'll play a mini game, and then play another half-hour, 45-minute game.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, you asked me this, I'll ask you this. 10 being your best, 1 being your worst, what would you rate this?
Yeah, I'd rate it a solid 8. Solid 8. I could even go, solid 8. I'd say solid 8.
Any improvements to the game or the mechanics?
That is an excellent question. I would almost say that everybody having the same numbers would be a little, maybe if you could, one guy gets pulled at random and you have and he dies right away, so maybe there's some not everybody should have the same point spread. Or maybe there should be a little more danger to it. Or perhaps yellow has a special power, green has a special power, red has a special power. I would like to see some kind of, what do they call that? Asynchronous play? Not asynchronous, it's asymmetrical play, where you have a special power that I do not have that you can maybe use to your advantage. That way it's not just chess, it's chess but, and then also you can have maybe a little pirate knowledge, so that you're, the green guys are a special pirate versus the red guy being a special pirate, and because of that they have different powers based on that. But I would say those would be good expansion ideas, good variant play. And
excuse me, I'm sorry.
What would do you have any ideas for?
I would maybe have like cards instead of the tiles, because the tiles are sometimes confusing of who's got who. Maybe have a key here of what these do, because sometimes you have people like, what does this do? Well, you have to explain to them that you can move a shark anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand I don't understand, or
and there's plenty of space along these hexes that could be used to describe that. Yeah, I could see that. And instead, you could have cards, even without. You could still have the hexes, but you could add in a card system and like, oh, I get this. It costs me, maybe it costs you a guy. I have to sacrifice a guy, but I get this little special thing that I can do. Yeah, I can see that. But again, the key to this game is it's simple, it's easy. You can jump right in on it, so you don't want to make it too complex. But those are things that could be added for an experienced player.
So, any closing thoughts on Survive? I think we survived this podcast. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I liked it. But let me ask you this: what have you been playing lately? Have you been playing much Survive?
A few times. I've been playing. I think the last time I played it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I played in to get ready for the podcast. I played it a couple of times, but just because we started playing it again, it came out again and again and again, just because it started. Anything else you've been playing that's good?
Red Dragon.
Red Dragon,
always a good man out. Red Dragon.
Yeah, can't beat that one. I played with the fourth edition, the fourth set people, and I'll tell you that captain in the new fourth set is very strong. The boatswain, I think she's called, is very straightforward. If you purchase the fourth set of Red Dragon Inn, that is a good one to give a new player, because she just punches people. And she's got a lot of
nothing
protection.
more simpler than that.
Yeah, you don't want to have. But the captain is very strong, but she's got a finesse to her. So, and same with the navigator. So I've been playing that. And I've been getting a lot of gaming in too. We should explain that we're both in plays. Adam's just finished up and mine's in rehearsals, so it's kind of hard to get some gaming in. We'll have to do something this week, so we can get some tries in and get maybe some new games too.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what's going to be for next time?
Well, like all podcasts, we got to sail on out of here. But fret not, gentle viewers. We'll be back next time, and I think we got a pretty cool one coming up.
What is it?
Well, hey, we don't got time for no Alhambra.
Okay, we don't. But when will we have time for Alhambra?
Well, I think that's just going to let it up to the viewers. I think they'll have to figure it out sooner or later.
All right. But we will be reviewing Alhambra when we do have time.
Yes, of course. When we do have time, but not right now.
But not right now.
Not right now. So from all of us here at Dice Squad, I am Marshal Dice.
You gonna say your name there, Marshall?
Adam Campbell.
And I am General Dice, also known as Todd Evangelista.
And we will see you all later. Set sail!
And don't let the sharks eat you.
Or sea monsters.
Sea monsters.